Madam President, I beg leave to get the unanimous consent to go back on the agenda to the point of laying of documents. We did go back. Okay. 1 second, Mr. Clark. I need to talk to you. May I take a 5-minute suspension, please?
Yes.
May I take a 5?
Yes.
Okay, may I move that the Senate be suspended for 5 minutes? I just wanted to clarify something with the clerk, if possible.
Madam President, I rise a second.
It's been moved and seconded that we have a suspension of the Senate for 5 minutes. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The Senate is suspended for 5 minutes.
Table of the House, the proclamation of emergency of the 29th day of June 2020.
May the documents be brought up.
I beg leave, Madam President, to lay on the table of the House the Emergency Powers COVID-19 Pandemic Regulations 2020.
Documents be brought up. May the documents still lie on the table.
I beg leave to lay on the table of the House the Emergency Powers COVID Pandemic 2020 order.
Documents be brought up. May the documents still lie on the table.
I beg leave to lay on the table of the House the Emergency Powers Pandemic COVID-19 Pandemic Special Provisions Order 2020.
The documents be brought up.
I
Documents still lie on the table.
I beg leave to lay on the table of the House the resolution to extend the emergency order.
Documents be brought up. May the documents still lie on the table.
Yeah. Oh, notices, that should come for notice. Give me the resolution. Yes. Thank you. Okay.
Communications.
Yeah, I have additional documents for tabling. Madam President, I wish to table approves the following resolution. The following reports. The government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas financial statement for the year ending the 30th of June 2017, and the government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas detailed budget performance by line items for the year ending the 30th of June 2017. That's these two bundles here.
Documents be brought up. Documents do lie on the table. For the laying of documents. Communications by ministers.
No.
I'm sorry. We're at somewhat at cross purposes because I thought that what was just laid was the proclamation of the state of public emergency. Isn't that beyond the 5 days?
Let me explain. There are 2 points. Well, first of all, to my recollection, we clearly tabled the proclamation, and I signed and dated it. It was the proclamation of the new emergency. And I signed it in the afternoon. I signed it in the morning. I withdrew it in the morning, remember? And I tabled that in the afternoon. The minutes that I see in the draft minutes states that the meeting opened and the proclamation was tabled. Okay? So for the avoidance of doubt, we'll get the tape as quickly as we can. But as far as I'm concerned, the proclamation was tabled. But for the avoidance of doubt, was prevailed on to sign this document and to table it today. But let me point out that the Constitution states merely that the houses must be summoned within 5 days and to consider. And so that would presume, I presume, that it had been tabled. And as far as I recollect, we tabled it. We all sat here and went through this process, and I tabled 3 documents. So there were 2 documents that I tabled when we recommenced. One was the proclamation, the other was the emergency regulations. And then you made the point that we needed to table the gazetted copy of the document, which I tabled as well, so that we were under a gazette. But I'll have to get the tape from ZNS of our last meeting to be so that we'll know what the facts are. But that is my distinct recollection, and I think it's yours and every other member who was here. I know you wouldn't have, I don't have any recollection. I understand.
I'm just saying that sorry.
Chair recognizes Senator
Madam President,
Mitchell.
forgive me. I'm just saying that if this laying is supposed to affect the bringing it before the Senate, I thought it was supposed to be within 5 days. So you start counting. We went through this from the 29th. You said under the interpretation of General Clauses Act, you begin with the day itself. So you got 29th, 30th, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, which would have been Friday. So if you are now, right, that's what I'm saying, but recalled, I'm saying now, if you are now laying, because if that is what you recalled, then the question you ask yourself is why are you laying it again? Because it's already laid. And then, of course, if it were not done on Friday and it's done today, the question again arises, is this constitutionally permissible? The government finds itself in a fix, which I think it would be wisest if you actually sorted this out now, as opposed to be acting in vain.
I'm trying to. And we'll have to go to ZNS and get the tape and go through it because of the query, okay? It is only a query, but we need to get to the bottom of it, and I will do that forthwith. So what we can do, what I propose is we can suspend the Senate until Wednesday afternoon at 3 at this point, and I will have the answer before this evening. Thank you. If I may have a second.
Madam President, I rise to second.
It has been moved and seconded that the Senate be suspended at this time until Wednesday afternoon at 3 p.m. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed?
Sorry, let me just go back. May I just give notice of the intention to debate this resolution, should all things be as I recall? Thank you very much. I lay that on the table, ma'am, with your permission.
Thank you. May the documents be brought up.
Move let the Senate. Yeah. Well, I'll read the. Yeah, it's just the opening. Whereas pursuant to Article 29(1) of the Constitution, the Governor General may make a proclamation of emergency declaring that a state of public emergency for the purposes of that article exists in the Bahamas. Now, therefore, be it resolved that this House approves the continuance of the proclamation made on the 29th day of June 2020 until the 31st day of June 2020. Affirms the continuance and effect of the Emergency Powers COVID-19 Pandemic Regulations 2020 made on the 29th day of June 2020 until the 31st day of July 2020. Affirms the continuance and effect of the Emergency Powers COVID-19 Pandemic Order 2020 made on the 30th of June 2020 until the 31st of July 2020. Affirms the continuance and effect of the Emergency Powers COVID-19 Pandemic Special Provisions Order 2020 made on the 30th day of June until the 31st day of July 2020. That is what I give notice of.
Another point, and this has to do with the recording of these meetings. It's brought to my attention, I recall that at one point there used to actually be an audio file which was available. I think someone recorded from there all the proceedings of the Senate on audio file. So it would have made it quite simple, for example, to be able to check what the facts are on this, had that been done. So I don't know, Madam President, at some point whether you'd wish to inquire as to whether that that can be resumed, because it would make life a little simpler as to what the record is or something.
I can always inquire.
Yes, yes, sir.
As I say, the draft minutes that I saw just now indicated that after we opened, that I tabled the proclamation. That's what the draft minutes show. Okay, and they would just pull that. So, as I said, I will go and try and get the audio or the visual, or whatever, of the meeting, and deal with it on that basis. Thank you.
Okay, we were in the middle of the suspension, and it had been moved, it had been seconded, and all those in favor that we suspend until Wednesday at 3 p.m. Aye. All those opposed? Nay. The ayes have it. The Senate is suspended until 3 p.m. Wednesday afternoon.